Good day, everybody. This is Chris of the Age of Scholar. Just a quick little update video that has no educational relevance whatsoever. I'm just doing this video to talk about some changes I'm going to try to implement in my personal life that may be relevant to some of you. And it's something that I've tried to do on a couple of different occasions, and I've just haven't been able to really commit and just make it happen on a more permanent basis. And that is attempting to switch or attempting to transition out of the Apple ecosystem. I have had an iPhone for several years, since 2009, 2010. I've had an iPhone. And so I'm deeply entrenched in the Apple ecosystem. I use an iPad, and it's been a great device for teaching, for lecturing, for doing notes, for integrating into Zoom. I have a MacBook Air that I use. Again, it's been very good. It's reliable. I actually have the M1 MacBook Air, the base model from a couple of years ago, and it's just been everything I've ever wanted out of a laptop. And of course, I have an iPhone as well as a watch, and they all work together. They're all very well integrated together, and I'm just very ensconced in the Apple ecosystem, and my wife is as well. And how well everything just works in the Apple ecosystem just is so convenient that it has made it truly difficult to transition out of the Apple ecosystem into other paradigms. I did rock a OnePlus. I think it was the OnePlus 6T. There was a really nice deal that my cell service provider had. This is several years ago. And I did get a OnePlus. I believe it's a OnePlus 6T, and had a pretty good experience with that phone. It was the way that OnePlus used to implement their operating systems was very minimalistic, very kind of stripped down version of Android. Which was nice from a perspective of an Apple user, where if anyone knows the Apple ecosystem, it is very stripped down, very minimalistic in some ways, and you don't have a whole lot of options, and so that does make it fairly easy to use. In more contemporary times, it has become more complex as everything has matured, but I would still say that it is far more difficult to get yourself in trouble with the Apple ecosystem, with the iOS in particular. Obviously, there is the whole jailbreaking community that allows you to have a more customizable experience, but with Android, you kind of get that out of the box, and you can really get yourself in trouble with all sorts of launchers and things of that nature. So someone who isn't used to that, I've always gravitated toward a more stripped down, basic implementation of the Android operating system, and that led me to also try Google Pixel phones. And if I'm being quite honest, I believe it was a Pixel 2 XL and a Pixel 3 XL that I had at one point in time, and this is again several years ago, and I really liked the implementation of Android, the operating system. I really liked that. It's Google, right? It's Google's take on it, so it's kind of stripped down. I don't want to say it's basic, but it is basic in the sense that it just tended to be the more stripped down, high yield, easy to use version of Android. And the photographic quality on the Pixel phones that I think it was the 2XL and the 3XL was incredible. I remember the 3XL had two front-facing cameras and had a really wide angle selfie camera, which I absolutely loved. I loved having a wider angle selfie camera, and it had that single camera in the back, really good computational photography, and so I had a great photography experience with it. But one thing that really plagued me with the Pixels was the operating system over the course of several months would become more and more unstable. It would slow down, it would clutter up, it would stutter. I'd have to reset the phone frequently, and it just made for a suboptimal overall experience. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't get, I was so enthralled by the Apple ecosystem, right? I just couldn't get out of that ecosystem because everything else I was using was Apple. And so I just was always kind of run back home to mom, so to speak. And I just haven't been able to really make that transition. And this year I ended up getting a new phone. I have an iPhone 14 Pro, which is the smaller version of the Pro, but the Pro Max being the largest. So this is the 6.1 inch version of the Pro lineup. And if I'm being completely honest, I actually traded in. I got a pretty good trade-in on my old iPhone and used that to pay off a good part of the new phone. But if I'm being completely honest, I'm a bit dissatisfied, to say the least, with my experience thus far. I don't know if anyone else is having this issue, but the operating system has been really buggy for me, and I've never really noticed this with Apple products in the past. It's been terribly buggy. The iPhone, it kind of stutters. Some apps work better than others. I'm getting these weird where the orientation of the screen changes, and sometimes it'll lock up, and I've had to reset my phone several times. I'm having a lot of issues with my audio, with my AirPods connecting. They'll like disconnect, and then they won't reconnect. And I've updated the firmware on my iPods Pro. I don't have the new version. I hear good things about it, but I've just had a lot of these issues, a lot of little issues as well. And the photograph quality, in my opinion, I don't know that it's a market improvement over what I had. I was using an iPhone 12 mini. So obviously there's some telephoto. There's obviously the camera system's better, but it's not markedly better. My experience hasn't been markedly better, and the battery life on this new phone has been frustrating, to say the least. Some days the battery life is absolutely incredible, and I can just go for a significant portion of the day and have little to no loss of battery life. And then other days I'll be just an hour or two in, and I'll have significant loss of my battery, and I don't have any real easy to identify reason why that's the case. I'm not doing anything different. It's very strange. I have turned off the always on display. I've turned off the haptics, so you don't get all the keyboard haptics. I've turned that off to try to optimize for battery life, and still it's just very inconsistent. Some days the battery life is quite incredible, if I'm being honest, and then other days it's absolutely horrible, and the phone will just warm up. It'll get really hot. I'll have to reset it, and it's just very buggy, very inconsistent and buggy, and I'm fairly dissatisfied with things, and I'm having a little bit of remorse over getting rid of my mini, my iPhone 12 mini. So I have been looking for, in my frustration, looking at other options, and Google has given me an incredible deal. I think they like an iPhone 11 or 11 Pro or something like that. They're going to give me a $550 trade-in on it. And the Pixel 7, the new Pixel 7 is $600, $599. And so essentially I'm getting almost the entire cost of the phone in a trade-in. And so essentially I'm getting a new Pixel 7 for free. And I think that I am going to, I've already placed the order for the Google Pixel 7, and I've been seeing very good reviews on the new Pixel 7 as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this another go and try to see about, I'm probably going to use both phones, both an iPhone, just because I just have everything going through my iPhone right now, my calendars, my just everything. But if I can have both my iPhone and the Pixel 7 running, and if the Pixel 7 is as good as everybody seems to say it is, I'm going to see if there's any way I can possibly maybe start transitioning back into Android and try to maybe get out of the Apple ecosystem. I'm not sure if that is going to be completely possible, but I'm going to give it the old college try, so to speak. And so I would really love to see what all of you have to say about that, and anyone who has made that transition. What are some things that have really helped you out? I mean, even things like my music. What do I do with my Apple Music library? I have a large, I also have Google Music as well, or was it YouTube Music? I think is it's Google. And I have both of those on my iPhone. So again, it's just like, what options, what are some good options I have where I can move everything over, and how seamless can it be? Because my prior experience with trying to transition between operating system platforms has been very frustrating, to say the least. So I'd be curious to see what you all think. I understand that there is this Apple and Android. I don't know if it's a pseudo battle that seems to be going on, has been going on for years and years. I'm relatively uninterested in that, and I'm not psychologically attached to any certain company or ecosystem. I don't want to become so ensconced in one specific paradigm that I'm completely incapable of appreciating all the other things going on in the world. So that's another reason why I'm really trying to push myself to do as much as I can with Android, so at least I can stay relevant and have some appreciation of what else is going on in the world, so to speak. But I would still appreciate any input you all would have regarding making that transition out of the very large, thick walled garden that Apple tends to put people in, or they put themselves in, I suppose. All right, thanks a lot, and take care, everybody.